Okay, so as I mentioned already, I'm Lior. I'll be the co-host along with Bill today. We're both on the onboarding team here at Atera, and we're here to set you guys up for success. And of course, we're going to be focusing today on patch management. The agenda for today is this really quick intro. We'll get into some housekeeping rules. We'll share some pro tech tips and tips, um, along with scheduling your IT automation profiles. And we'll also answer your questions as we go along today. The webinar is being recorded, so we will share a recording with you guys to your email after the webinar. You guys should probably get it by tomorrow, the latest. And you guys should all see a Q&A tab right by the comment, right by the chat. So any questions that you guys may have, please leave them in the Q&A so that we make sure to get to them. We'll try to answer as many as possible today, but we are only 2 people and a lot of you guys. So whatever we don't answer today, our amazing support team will be able to answer um, through either the live chat or support@atera.com. But as I mentioned, we'll do our best. Any cool comments, emojis can definitely go in the chat. We want to make sure this is interactive as it can be. So feel free again to use the chat to communicate with us. We have different resources and training for you guys. As I mentioned, we have different articles in our help center. We have the 24/7 support through the live chat and through the email. We have different courses in our academy, which I'll happily share with you guys. You'll see the link here. And of course, we have a Atera's community where you guys can find unique workarounds to whatever you're facing. You guys can talk to other Atera users, see what are the latest trends today in the IT world. Um, and we have webinars just like these that are always coming up and on demand on our website. So that's that when it comes to resources and training. You'll see you can use however many of these resources as you'd like. And when we're talking about patching, where we're pulling these patches from, how it works, so just a few small tips or information for you guys. Atera leverages a WUA interface with Windows, okay, to bring over all the Windows updates from Microsoft. It also gets updated every hour, so you're getting the most latest updates. You guys can also decide as the technicians if you want to install these patches manually or using automations, which will, of course, we'll show you guys in just a moment. So just so you guys know, these are just a few stats for you guys. And as I mentioned, since we're pulling them and they're being managed through Microsoft, sometimes the updates are released at different times. So not to worry, all these updates will appear in Atera eventually, even if it does not happen right away. Okay, and when we're talking about how to build these automation profiles, our best practice is to split them up into different profiles. Okay, so not to have all of your tasks in one profile, but to split them up just like this. So the first profile will include your critical patches. Okay, you'll have one for those, another one for non-critical patches, a third one for any software updates or software bundle installations, a fourth one for running any scripts, a fifth one for any upgrades like the Windows 11 upgrade that we're all talking about right now, and the sixth one should be for any maintenance tasks. So creating system restore points, any hard reboots, deleting temporary files, etc. Okay, so I know this is all a lot of information. I promise in a little bit it's going to all make sense since Bill is going to walk us through how to build these different profiles in Atera. Okay? And thank you. Let's go live. So I'm gonna allow Bill now to share his screen, and we're gonna go straight
Awesome.
to Atera.
Awesome. First off, thanks, Leroy, for setting that up. Before I share my screen, I really want to say something that's really important is that when we talk about patching, it's very important to know what your current status is, what do you need to do, and then go ahead and set your profiles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And here we go. And actually where I want to start is right at the patch management screen. Let me wait a second till it comes on. There it is. And the patch management dashboard is really a great place to start before you start setting up your profiles. And really, anytime that you need to adjust them to see what's going on, how successful they are. What's really important about the patch management dashboard is that it's actionable, so I can see problems that I might have. I can do micromanagement. So for example, at this particular one, Ted's desktop, I see I have 4 missing patches. I can click on that and I can go ahead and do a manual patch from here. And one of the things we're going to talk about is the distinction between a manual patch and an automation patch or a profile, which Leora was talking about. The other thing that you need to know is that when you see this, sometimes it gets a little bit scary to say, oh, I only have 67% success or 40%. What you need to do is know what you're looking at. And one of the ways that you can do that is just change what you're looking for. So for example, if I look at just my critical updates, I'm at 100%. Those are important to do my criticals. If I'm looking at my security updates, I'm at 80%. So this is giving me a great picture of what I'm doing. I'm also going to take a look at folders. When we set them up, the folders and the sites, you're going to set it up for patch groups, how you do your patching, who does the patching, who gets that. I can look at it for just Macs only, just my servers. I can look for my offlines. It really can be driven down a lot to take a look. And again, all of these areas I can use to take a look more specifically at what I'm looking at, the device types, the OS patches, everything. Spend some time playing with the dashboard. And again, it's going to help you understand where you need to focus your energies at. Okay. Now, the one thing this doesn't do, it does everything. It does actionable items. It gives you a good picture. It doesn't give you a report. You can't pull a report from this. So what you are going to do is you're going to come down over here to the reporting. And there's one particular report that I like, which is called Patch Automation Feedback. There's 2 kinds of patching that you're going to do. One type of patching is going to be manual. The other type is automation. It's what Leora was talking about earlier about the profiles. Those are their automation profiles. So what I could do, I can come over here. I can set my time period. I'm using my hand. You can't see me using my hand pointing to my screen. I never could do that on the screen. And I can set this up. Let's just say I'm going to use the last 30 days, and I'm going to generate this. And by the way, on all our reports, you can also schedule them. So if this is a report that you're going to use on a regular basis, you can schedule it and send it to yourself or anybody else. So now what I can see that I had 10 profiles. We're going to talk a lot about what a profile is, what defines a profile, how it looks. This particular one, I had 41% success rate, which is great to know because I can learn how to build my profiles. Do I need to change the time? Do I need to change the day? Whatever it is. And I can get a chance to see what are the issues that are going on, and I can use this to help to build my automations. Now, the other one that I wanted to show you really quickly is in my reports. Is over here on the general, there's one called recent processes, and this is going to show anything that you did manually. Okay, anything that did you manually, it's going to show it to you. It also does scripting. It also does if you put software bundles in, but it also shows you if you did any kind of patching and the success that it was. Okay, now before I jump into the actual IT automations, this profiles, Leora, do you have any other comments, or is any other comments before I jump into it?
So I just wanted to let you guys know I dropped the different articles that Bill just shared with us in the chat, so you guys can go ahead and check them out later if you need more information. I don't see any questions just yet in the Q&A, so hopefully you guys will be writing in any questions that you guys may have in that Q&A tab so we can get to your answers. But now we're going to slow it down and we're going to really focus on building the different profiles. And again, make sure to leave any comments in the chat, any questions in the Q&A. So thanks again, Bill, and you can go ahead and show them how exactly to create these automation profiles.
Awesome. Actually, I jumped right to the page, but maybe I should back up. To make just a reminder, you're going to go into monitoring and automation, and just under that is patch management and IT automation. It's going to open up the page of all your automations. I'm going to add a new profile. Actually, before I do that, I want to show you something. This is the patch management and IT automation main page. This shows me all of the profiles that I've created, if they're active, when the last time I did it. But most important is at the very, very bottom. Now, we have a lot of junk here because this is our demo site and we are always doing testing ones. You should have maybe a couple of dozen here once you're done, plus or minus. but there are two really important settings here at the bottom. The first one is the default setting about when you, if a end user is offline. Basically what happens if you run a profile, you're going to say what time it is, and you're going to assign it to devices. If that individual is offline, it can just miss it and it won't run again into the next profile. Or I can change it to do what's called a queue for 1 hour. That means if they come back online with an hour, it'll run. If they come back on for a week, which is where I like to set it, if they come on for a week, sometime in that week, that profile will run. Now, some of you who are in Europe or other parts of the country where you have longer vacation days, you might want to set it for 2 weeks or even a month for a longer period of time. This is going to set the default globally. All right, this is going to set globally for all of your profiles. When we go into the system, I'm going to show that you can also do it locally for a specific profile. Now, over on the left, we have excluded patches. Sometimes, when Patch Tuesday happens, they'll drop bad patches, or a patch gets outdated, or it just doesn't work with your system. I get it all the time where there's a Dell one that doesn't work with keyboards and it crashes the system, whatever. If you recognize a patch, an update that doesn't work for you, that you got feedback from a board, from Reddit, whatever, that's not working, all you need to do, and this is, again, a global one for all the profiles, I'm going to hit my manage over here, and I'm going to find the profile, find the particular profile, the patch that I'm looking for. I'll select it. I'll hit the select button. And what that's going to do is that's going to exclude it from any future profiles. You'll also pull it out from any other reporting as well, so you won't see it in there. But this is a good way to move things out of the way so that you don't have to use them, okay? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go in. Now, I started one at the very beginning. It's called Bill Webinar, okay? And this is a blank page. This is a blank slate. What I want to do is talk to you. Lior kept using the word profile. What's a profile? A profile, in my mind, is three things. Number one, it's the task. It's all of these. It's the OS patch, the software patch, the disk management. That's number one. It's a task. The second part of a profile is the actual automation. When do I want it to run? How many times do I want to run? Once a week, once a month, once a year, twice a week, twice a day, whatever. This is my automation. That's number two of the profile. The third piece is going to be down here, which is called the profile assignment. Who am I assigning this profile to? Am I going to assign it to a folder, to a site, or to individual devices? Actually, it's to a site and or a folder and or a device, okay? Without one of these, your profile is not going to work. If it's not assigned to somebody, it's not going to work. If it doesn't have an automation time, it's not going to work. And if it doesn't have a task. So you need all three of those to create the profile. Now, Lior said something really, really important, and this is probably the Bible, the most important rule in setting up the profiles is that you need to separate them. She recommended 6 different profiles. That's a great way to start. And what does that mean to separate them? A couple different things. One, you can see our columns. Okay, so this is an OS group. This is the software group. And this is our disk group. One, you want to separate your columns. Okay, and there's a couple of reasons for separating them out. One is because our system doesn't work chronologically. It doesn't know to do this first, that second, this third, that fourth. I know it's down the line, we're working on that, but one, you want to separate those out because it doesn't know chronologically. The second, it has a different cadence. You have a different cadence of like, I may do my OS patching once a day, once a week, whatever, but I may only do my software patch update once a month. So it has a different cadence as you go through that. Reason number 2 to separate. The reason number 3 is that you want them to have different ones because your criticals may be something you want to run on a regular basis, whereas your system updates not as often. The last reason is because Patch Tuesday comes out once a month on the second Tuesday of every month, and that also has a different set of patches and updates that are going to come in. Okay, so when she was talking about setting up the different profiles, for example, this is going to be one that I have. You can see that I have the critical selected, and I have it to be running every Monday and Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. And I will talk about time in just a second. And then it's assigned to a particular group of people on the particular sites, particular folders that are going on. But you can see it's separated. Really important, by the way, and I didn't say this at the beginning, is besides the columns that I have here, I also have 2 reboots. I have this reboot here, and I have this reboot here. It's really important that you keep them separate and understand the differences, what they are. The reboot over here under maintenance is a standalone reboot. If you click on it, it'll say, okay, we're going to reboot, done. There's no engagement from the end user about that reboot. It's going to reboot your system. This reboot over here on the left on the reboot device, if needed, the keyword is if needed. It's after, and it's only and after an OS patch update, okay? And we're going to talk about how you can manage that. But decidedly, when you do OS patch, you don't want to use your reboot. In fact, if I scroll over the reboot, it says it very clearly. For optimal results, we recommend creating a separate automation profile for the reboot task. And there's about 5 ways that you could do reboot. We're not going to go into right now, but there's 4 or 5 different ways that you could do that, okay? Now, when we talked about separating the patches, we talked about doing, one was the critical, one was the security. We have software, we have maintenance, we have scripting, a lot of different ways. What I want to do is I want to show you one, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the clean one right here. And then we're going to go through a quick process, okay? The first I'm going to do an OS patch. So let's say I'm going to do the security updates. So I'm going to select my security updates. Here it is. And you know what? Maybe I'll do my service packs as well, okay? So this is saying the action that I want. The next thing I want to do is that reboot. It's a really important part to hit that reboot, okay? And again, this is going to allow the end user and you to control when that reboot. The last thing you want is somebody in the middle of a presentation at school, a doctor in the middle of emergency room, something to happen in production that all of a sudden it reboots in the middle and you're kind of stuck. This gives a lot of control. All right. The next thing, and this I think is one of the most overlooked parts of our patching system, is the OS patch approval setting. Okay. It's really a byproduct of Patch Tuesday. Because what happens with Patch Tuesday? It comes on Tuesday and it doesn't always necessarily work well. The patches come out. Microsoft says, oops, sometimes we got to check them. So what we're going to do is we're going to postpone. We're going to put a pause button on the patches. How does that work? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at I'm not going to deal with critical because this is only non-critical. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do, instead of saying always approve, and always approve means it's just going to run. No matter what happens, it's just going to run. Whenever that next cycle runs, it's going to happen. So I'm going to hit the postpone button. Excuse me. I'm going to hit that postpone button. And let's say I want to postpone that for 5 days. Okay. The other thing I want to do is I'm just going to grab a patch and I'm going to add it in here really fast. Okay. Just so you can see it. So this is what's going to happen on Patch Tuesday, or anytime that a patch is going to come through. If you see the non-criticals, that's 5 days, which means, let's say tomorrow is Patch Tuesday. Is that tomorrow? No, it's today. Is today Patch Tuesday? Did I get lucky? No.
Today's Monday.
Oh, sorry. Maybe tomorrow. Okay. So what would happen on Patch Tuesday is all of a sudden you would see this beautiful, nice long list of all of your updates, all of your patches. They would all say, instead of approved, they would say postpone. They would also say the first seen date, which means that's the date they would drop. So if it was tomorrow, it would say July 8th. Then the auto approval date would be 5 days later. That doesn't mean on July 8th, on the July 13th, they're going to run. What's going to happen is once they get approved on the next cycle, on the next schedule, that's when they run. So if you run a cycle on July 12th, they're not going to run because they haven't been approved. If you run them on the 15th, they'll run because they'll already be approved. I love this right here because this gives me an opportunity to look at all my patches, what's coming in. I can exclude from it. And I talked about local exclusion earlier. This is the place you do local exclusion. So let's say, for example, I read on the boards that this is a really bad patch. It has problems. It's going to cause blue screen. It's going to cause conflict, whatever. I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to hit the exclude button. This is now excluded from the profile that I call Bill Webinar. Okay, it's going to be excluded. All right, a local exclusion. All right, I'm going to make sure I put this back on so it keeps good. Okay, so this is the way that works. It's a really important part of the process. All right, I did number 1, I set my task. Number 2 is I'm going to add my schedule. I'm going to choose my frequency. Let's say I'm going to do, let's do it on, Instead of Monday, I'm going to, and I could, if I could do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever I want to do. Let's say I'm going to set it on Thursday. Now, when do I do it? Old school would say, let's do it after hours. Let's do Friday at 7 o'clock at night. Let's do it when nobody's working. That's the worst time to do it. And the reason for that is people have closed down their systems. They've closed down their laptops. They've closed everything down. And the chance of success is going to go down. One of our recommendations is to do it early in the day, early in the week, like at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The update is going to run silently in the background, okay? Then you have a full day to give the end user time to reboot the system. So I'm going to set this one on, let's just go with, I'm going to do it on a Tuesday, and I'm going to set it for 10 o'clock in the morning, okay? So I'm going to save that. So now I have two pieces. I have what I'm going to do. I have the profile that's going to be set on this. And again, timing is everything, okay? And one of the things, and this is something Lior said, is when you have those 6 profiles, you want to pace them, okay? I'm going to do one at 9:30. I'm going to do one at 10:30. I'm going to do, or I might do one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. Keep them separated so you don't have conflict, so you can keep a good picture of what's going on. Now, what's the third thing I need to do? I need to assign it, okay? Assign it, I can do it as a site. I can choose my site. Let's say I'm gonna do it with Albany and finance, okay? I'm gonna make sure I add that. Then I can also add folders. Actually, I don't know if I have where I have folders on here, but I'll just make a good luck. And let's say I'm gonna put this, oh, I got lucky. And then I'm gonna put it on my PCs for just Albany, okay? And then if I have an agent, I'm going to go into the devices page and I'm going to select it there. I can't select it here, but you can see now I have sites and folders, and I could put agents in there if I wanted to. All right, I'm going to save this.
And for any, sorry to interrupt, for any MSPs along here with us, instead of sites, you'll see customers, and folders are folders, right? So if you have any Macs, PCs, and Linux devices, make sure to split them up into folders and then only have certain updates like these security updates assigned to your PCs. And as you guys can see right below that, you'll see install all Mac patch updates. That should only be assigned to your Mac folder, right? So it's pretty logical. Just make sure to split your devices into folders, and that's it. I'll stop interrupting, Bill.
No interruption at all, none whatsoever. Okay, so now I have all 3 pieces of a profile. I have a profile. It's called Bill Webinar. I have my task, I have my automation, I have my assignment. Now, essentially, all profiles are going to work the same, okay? So if I want to do, this is a critical one, I have a critical one. If I want to do a software one, I can do a software one. I thought I had a software one to put in there. I would just select my software. We'll come into that in a second. A maintenance one, I could do maintenance. Again, separating them out, but the key is that you have the 3 components. Now, what I did earlier is I did my OS, I did my time. The key part now is that I need to create a configuration policy. Now, configuration policy is also known as a reboot policy, okay? So I'm gonna come over here to my patch management. Right below it's configuration policy. And I'm gonna create a policy. I've got a number of them here, but I'm gonna create a new one. I'll create a new policy, and we're gonna call this Bill Webinar. Now, when I talk about patching, you know, we talk about different kinds of patching, different kinds of devices. One thing we didn't talk about is the difference between an attended device and an unattended device. To me, those are the most important things when you talk about reboot policies. An attended device is a device that somebody is working on. It's being attended by an individual, okay? So you want to manage the reboot for an attended device different than an unattended device, which might be a device that's running 24/7, and you can control that time when you do it. We work with a lot of medical facilities. You can't like just reboot whenever you want. So we know that between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, I have a window I can do that. Okay, so I've named my policy. Then I'm going to toggle on my configuration. I typically like to work with these last 2, okay? And the last 2, why I like to work with them, because it's attended, unattended. This one right here is restart after selected time period. This is for unattended. This means, like, let's say you're going to run this 11 o'clock at night. It's a device that's running 24/7. I ran at 11. 15 minutes after that patch is run, it's going to reboot. Okay, so I have a lot of control about when I'm doing this. Again, attended only. You don't want to do this for, unattended only. You don't want to do this for an attended device. Now, for an attended device, I'm going to click on this one right here. And what this does, this gives the end user lots of control. So right now, there's 3 configurations for this. Configuration number 1, sorry, one second. Configuration number 1 is how often that prompt is going to be. Right now, every 60 minutes, they're going to get a prompt. Hey, you got to do it. Hey, every 60 minutes. And it's going to be basically the Microsoft prompt at whatever you want to do. But you want to be more personal. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your own custom message in there. Hey, we here at IT Interpreter, IT Associates, MSP Associates, whatever, this is our policy. This is a reminder that today is Patch Tuesday. We want you to make sure that you restart your computer, okay? And that will just keep going every 60 minutes, the same nonstop. Now, if you need to push your end user just a little bit and to remind them that it's important and it's policy to do it, then you can have a forced restart. Now, I have it set right now at five times. What this means is 5 cycles of 60 minutes, which is 5 hours, five cycles of 60-minute prompts. At the end of that, it's going to restart it. So it's going to let you know for every hour, for 5 times, at the end of this, it's going to restart whether you like it or not, okay? And you can set this based on your community. Some people want to have a smaller amount of prompts, like every 20 minutes. I think I would go crazy if somebody did me every 20 minutes a reminder. Some people go 3 hours. I think that's too far. 60 minutes is a nice number. Once an hour, it's a good reminder. But you've got 5 hours to do this. Again, going back to about when you do it, setting it like at 10 o'clock in the morning, now you have a full day to do that. I got to pause for a second because I always forget to pause and say, hey, Leo, what's up?
Hi,
Anything?
Bill. Thank you. I will say that actually my tip is that I also like the one that says restart outside of active hours. So that's also another option. And what you guys can go ahead and do is add in the work schedule, right? So if you know your users are working between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you can add that. So Bill, go ahead and edit it for me. So instead of
What
8,
time
we'll
did you
make
say?
it 7. Let's say they start their work day super early, and we want to be mindful. And let's say they finish work at 7 p.m. They're very overworked, poor guys. So yeah, what this will ensure is that if a reboot is required, it's only going to reboot outside of these hours. So after 7 p.m. and before 7 a.m., meaning it's not going to disrupt their workday. So as you guys can see, you have a lot of different options for these reboots. You guys can also, of course, do it per folder, right? So you might want to have a different policy for your PCs versus another device. Okay, so you guys can definitely create a different policy for each profile. Just keep in mind that you must have the reboot if needed selected in the automation profile for this one to work. Okay, so keep that in mind. And also, Bill, now you're free to go ahead and explain the next setting, which is also important, the Windows update settings. Maybe I'll just explain it since I'm already here.
Go for it, man.
So as you guys saw previously, you're able to exclude or postpone certain patches. So if you're doing that, you want to make sure that this is indeed controlled through our IT automation profiles, okay? So you want to make sure to have that selected. So that way, if you're really excluding, it doesn't just get approved through the Windows local updates and you won't understand why. So again, make sure to keep it selected by Atera's. And then right at the bottom.
Sorry, I just want to show one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. And what will happen is that if an end user happens to think, oh, okay, I'm going to do this myself, I'm not going to wait, they're actually going to get a pop-up that says, no, 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 you can't do it. This option is managed by your organization. Your organization is turned off automatically. So this will actually turn off that system and say, no, it's our business, not yours.
Okay, so that's great. And here at the bottom, just like with every profile, whether it's an automation or a threshold profile, you have to assign it in order for it to work. So again, you're going to go ahead and assign it. You can only assign one policy per device, okay? So it's not like the automation profiles where you can assign critical, non-critical, scripts, whatever you want. Here you can only have one reboot policy. It makes sense. Just keep that in mind. And yeah, once you scroll all the way up, you'll click on create, and that way it'll keep this policy in mind when a reboot is indeed required after any OS patches. Okay,
Oh,
before we
awesome.
continue, did you want to add anything, Bill, before we continue?
No, you're doing, it's great. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to share a question that we had to make sure it's very clear. So if you go back to the patch management IT automation page, if you can scroll all the way to the bottom to the global settings. Okay, so we had a question if there's any global execution. Okay, so you can exclude patches globally on the left-hand side, but I did understand that you probably wanted to also postpone globally. So that is a great feature request. At the moment, you can't set the postponements globally. You can only exclude, and you'll have to postpone on each profile separately if you need to. But that's a good feature request, so I'll make sure to submit it.
Awesome.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, but again, we'll continue and feel free to write them in. So either this is super clear or it's not clear at all. I feel like it's either or when we're doing a webinar and there's a small number of questions. But hopefully it's on the clear side. Okay, and I see there's some questions on the in the chat. So Sylvester asks, could you please expand on running profiles at folder level? Do you mind showing where the folders are created in the site/customer page? Maybe that'll make more sense, Bill?
Absolutely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click back over to admin. I'm going to click over to devices. Actually, no, I'm going to click to sites. Okay. So what happens, I have my sites. Sorry. I'm going to click on my site.
Customers, right?
What?
Site/customers. Remember, we have ITDs and as
Oh, right. So the difference between the two is like it's terminology. If you're an ITD, it'll say site. If you're an MSP, it'll have customer. So I'm going to open up this site. It says Albany. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. You see I have all my devices over here. And over here, one of the beautiful things I think about Atera is that if you wait a week, we have new features. This little button over here is a brand new feature that it has since changed, and it's called Manage Folders. And what I'm going to do is I can add and subtract folders if I want. So if I have a folder that, I'm going to call it my 24/7 folder. Okay, this is my devices that are working 24/7. I can add as many folders as I want. And then if I decide I want to put all of these devices inside that folder, then I can just come over here and I have my little 3 dots right here, edit relations, and I can look for Albany and I can look for 24/7. Everything is there. Now I can do that between sites. I can do it between customers. I can do it between folders. I can always move it around. And I can also take a look with my filters and my folders. So if I wanted to go look at my 24/7s, now I can see my 24/7s. Now earlier I talked about how you could do sites, folders, and devices. This is one way to do the devices. So right now, if I wanted to assign the profile to this group, all I would do is this. I would select the ones right here, okay? And then I would come over to automation profile and I would assign it to selected agents. And it was let's give it a call. Let's give it a name. It was Bill, right? There's Bill Webinar. Bill Webinar, come on. And we have it assigned. So this is the way that you're going to do it by that. Now, just as a side note, if you want to know what you've done, you can always go into a device and you scroll down a little bit and you can see down here, there's your threshold profile, always one threshold profile per device. You can see all the different automation profiles I've done for that device. And like Lior said, a singular reboot configuration for that. So this is where I can see, and I can also edit it. Okay, you can see that I can edit it there as well, go into the system. Okay, we're doing so far so good. Any other questions?
Great. Maybe you can check out the chat to see if there's, let's see, I see there's some questions in the chat and not in the Q&A. It's a little harder to answer it that way because there are a lot of comments. So let's see.
Oh, I know this one. Mark was asking about how do we get around the large updates, 88 gigs and 104 gigs. Almost never there's a patch that big. You'll see it. And it'll be like I could probably find it really fast, but you'll see it as an OS system update. What you're usually seeing is you're going to see the update, which is moderate size, but you'll see the language pack that's stuck inside there. It's not going to install your full language pack. It's going to understand what languages you have. So it's almost never that you're going to get that. something that's large. I don't think I've ever seen an 88 gig patch because there's always something attached to that. But if you need to, you could do one by one, or you could do it as small group patches as you go through the process. And part of the way that you can do that is that you can isolate your devices and do filters and say we can do them by chunks. What else do we have?
Let's see.
So Dara asks, we have a Windows 11 PC that must not be rebooted without prior arrangement with customer. How can I apply configuration that prevents any patching and reboot and prevent auto updates running, causing a reboot? Okay, it's just what I showed you earlier, is that you can isolate that device and add a configuration policy specifically for that one. Okay, so what you could do, if I can do a quick jump over here, if I go to configuration policy, so I'm going to create a new policy that's called Windows 11 don't touch. Okay, and then I would, this is what I think I would do, is I would set like this, turn this on, okay? And first off, I would just let it run 60 minutes. It's not going to do anything. It's going to run 60 minutes ad nauseum until somebody says yes. And then what I would do is I would identify that agent and select that agent. You could do a filter on all the devices. You could do that agent, select it, and that way you can isolate the Windows 11 one, and it will only run every 60 minutes until that happens. Okay? How about you, Lior? You got something?
Let's see. I think we're good. I've answered the questions, each person in the Q&A separately. If there are any more, again, feel free to keep writing them in, and I'll share ones that apply to everyone. But you can continue maybe with the second type of profile, or maybe third by now, which goes through the software updates.
Oh, awesome. Happy to do so. So what I want to do is I want to take a look. I like to make Lior laugh, or at least she tries to make me laugh through going through this. So one of the things that we're going to try to do is we always have software we're going to put in, either updating software, or you've got a new device that comes in and you just got to make sure you load it with a bundle. One of the first places we're going to go is we're going to come down over here to where it says software management. Okay. When I'm down here at software management, and we've got a lot of stuff already here. Again, this is our demo site. Is that I'm going to create as many bundles as I want, okay? The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to create a bundle, and I could do a Windows bundle or a Mac bundle. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Webinar again, so I know it was me. Via Webinar. Let me learn how to type my name right. Webinar, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select software. Now, some of the softwares, throw out a software, VLC. That's a really nice one that everybody likes to use. And the VLC is a media player. Now, what's really important here is that you're going to see, oh, wait a minute. Are we out of chocolatey? Because I don't see chocolatey here.
Please go to all sources. Let's see. So we have chocolatey, Winget.
Interesting. Ah, there he goes. That was weird. Okay. All right. So what you have is we basically have three main sources that we're getting our softwares from. We're going to get them from Winget, from Chocolatey, and Simon New. That's also a new one for me. And what you're going to have is the option to choose from that. The Chocolatey and Winget are going to be for your Windows devices. Now, Chocolatey used to be our main resource for pulling it. And now, since then, we've pulled in the Winget. Our recommendation is whenever you have an opportunity is to use the Winget, because with Winget, you don't have limitations for bandwidth. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna choose the Winget, and I'm gonna add that software. And now you can see in my setup there. Now I'm gonna put another one up here. I know 7-Eleven, not 7-Eleven, 7-Zip. 7-Zip. So now you can see my 7-Zip. Now I'm just gonna add the Chocolatey just so that you can see the difference. So I have now a Winget software. So I could just keep building. I can put my Chrome in there. I can put my Adobe in there. I can put any of the pieces that I want in there. I'm building my bundle. I'm going to create it. Now from here, I've got about 5 or 6 different ways I'm going to do it. The main way that I'm going to do it, based on our conversations today, is I'm going to add it to a profile. So I'm going to use my webinar one again. I'm going to clean out all of my ones right there. I'm going to clear my reboot. And then you can see over here, there's software bundle. Okay. And right now I have no bundle selected. I'm going to select the bundle. I'm going to come over, look here, and I'm going to type Bill. Let's learn how to spell my name right. Bill Webinar. There's Bill Webinar. You can see my software. And then I can select that. Okay. So now I have ready this bundle to do. Now, I probably wouldn't run it this way because I don't need to run it every Tuesday. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on new devices. So one route to do that is we're going to delete this right here. And I'm going to do it over here where it says run the profile on newly installed agents. Okay. So what this is going to do, this is going to look for new agents that have just been installed. Now, one of the recommendations I like to make when I create sites or customers with a client is I like to make a site or a customer that's called new devices or unassigned or whatever, but it's a staging ground. So I put all my new devices in there. I can assign it to that. And then when it recognizes there's a new agent, it's going to see that. I could also hit the run now button, which we're going to run it. But again, I've got this bundle right here that's going to do that. If I wanted to, I could also come over here to my devices. And let's say I know which ones are my new devices. Let's say I knew it was this one, and they were brand new devices. All I would do is come over to here. It doesn't like me because it's not a device. Let's go to a PC. There we go. So I'm going to get my 2 PCs. Let's just say these are my 2 brand new PCs. I'm going to go to software installation. I go to my bundle, and I'm going to pick the Bill bundle again. BILL. There's my Bill webinar, and I can run it just like that. Now, if I wanted to, I could just do software and say, you know what? I've been working with this client. They need 7-zip. It's really important. So I'm going to type in my 7-zip. I'm going to find my 7-zip, and I can just install it directly to those devices as we go. Okay. I'll pause for a second. Lior?
I think we're good. This is great.
Okay, awesome. Now, when we talk about software, this is basically your freeware stuff. All those things out there that you don't need a license, you don't need to pay for. If you're going to go for, if you have private software, that you have a private repository, then what you're going to want to do is that you're going to go into our software management. And again, this is only for the higher tiers that we have. And you're going to basically make a connection between your repository and our repository, and then you'll install it the same way. The other way that you can install it is by a script, by an MSI script. Most people, if you know how to run an MSI script, you're going to add that script and run it. How would you add that script? So we're going to do a quick jump off of software now, and we're going to go over to scripting. In the scripts, you have basically 2 libraries. One library is my scripts. That's anything that I've created, anything that I've uploaded, or anything that I've cloned, okay? If you have the AI, the Copilot, you can create a script by just saying, I want you to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then it'll write the script and you can load it. The second thing you can do is you can upload a script. So if you have an MSI script for a piece of software, you put the description, you upload the file, you put the information in, you upload it, and now it becomes a part of your script library. The other piece while we're here is that you have the shared script library. We now have over 1,000 shared scripts that have been submitted to users like yourself by our team. They're vetted for security, but they're not vetted for your devices. So always test them before you run them. Okay. But something I like to do is I like to come over here where it says clones. I'm going to click clones once, and then I'm going to click clones twice. And what you see now is you see your most popular clones. And these are the clones that I like to use for everyday kind of things. In fact, don't tell anybody. On the maintenance scripts, I kind of avoid the maintenance patching because I like to come down here and I'll see, like, for example, there's monthly maintenance. This is a great one. This one's like you create a restore point. it reboots, it deletes the temp files, runs a full disk cleanup, and then finally reboots. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that clone button, and in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's over in my scripts. Then what we can do is we're going to come over here to patch management, and I'm going to go back to build webinar, and I'm going to clean out I didn't save it, so it's fine. And now you can see my scripts over here. Now, I could have hit defrag or run check disk or create system report. And again, you could do it piece by piece by piece. But what I like to do is I like to come over here, and then I'm going to look for monthly maintenance. I select it. Now I have a single script that's going to run on the devices that I want to do, and it does the system restore point. It cleans your temp files. It's a great system. Okay, this is a place that you can run any kind of scripts if you want to do anything for devices. I've seen people put toaster pop-ups right here that says, okay, once a month I want to put. I love that phrase, toaster. That you can put a toaster inside here that says, hey, just a reminder, tomorrow is this, or just a reminder that you have to do this. This is a great place to do this. But you can run any kind of script from here to add software, subtract software, run things, do things. And again, I'm going to create the script. I'm going to create my automation. I'm going to hit the profile. Okay. Now, there's about 4, again, with Atera, there's more than one way to slice bread. So with scripts, I can do a script here. I can also come back over to admin. I can go to my devices. Let's say I wanted to run a pop-up, a toaster for everybody. I can come over here, select it. I hit my run script. I can just select it and I can run it. Okay. The other way that you can do the script, and I know I'm doing scripting away from management for just a second, but let's say I was in the middle of a ticket and I'm working on someone. I could just come over here and I could select the device and I could run the script directly from the ticket side. Okay. So let's go back down to the patch management. Okay, so we've covered so far, we've covered profiles, we've covered scripting, we've covered software, we've covered configuration policy. Okay.
I think we've covered it all, I think, when it comes to patch management.
Let me see if I skipped anything. One more thing I just do want to add, okay, is the updates. When you take a look, one of the things that you want to do is do updates for your software, okay? Updating software is bringing all of the software in your system to a common version. If you take a look at your software inventory, which you'll see on the system, you'll see like 17 different versions of Adobe Acrobat. And one of the things you could do is by doing update all software, what that does is that allows you to update them, and it's going to update anything that you have loaded, and it's going to upload a list. Let me give you the list, and it's going to upload all of these softwares that you have right here, even if you didn't install them. So regardless of the installation source, so if you already have Dropbox, if you already have 7-Zip, you don't have to install it in order to update it. It's going to be automatically updated. And the more that you use this, the more that you'll see is that your versions of your software will get more common. Okay. I think that's it.
Okay, guys. We'll give you guys another minute or so to enter in any last-minute questions before we finish off today. But I see there were a lot of really great questions that came in, so I can see that you guys actually paid attention, which is amazing. But yeah, Bill, you did a great job, I must say. I don't know what you guys think. But yeah,
I couldn't have done it without you, Lior.
Thanks, Bill. I would love it if you could maybe show how they can contact our amazing support team in case we didn't answer your questions today.
Awesome. So it's very simple. And up in the upper right-hand corner is really all the resources. And Lior pointed them out at the very, very beginning. If I click on this question mark in the upper right-hand corner, first, these are all my resources. Okay, if you saw a couple of times I clicked on the Learn More, it took you directly to a KB article. You can get all your KB articles here, webinars, community. If you want to touch base pick brains with other people in the community, you got that here, product updates. But if you want to talk to our support team, you click this right here. Now, what's missing here, actually, no, nothing's missing here. You got the live chat is going to take you directly to our 24/7 support. They can help you. They can direct you. They're a great resource. And even if you want to reach out to our CEO, drop him a line, let him know what a wonderful person Lior is running these webinars and doing the patch management. You can let them know, but this is how you can get a hold of Gil, our CEO. The other piece that's here, just as a reminder, you've got the AI assistant, really about our system. So if you get stuck, you can ask the questions right here, and it's going to give you the results from our system. How do we alert users?
I see Mark asked, how do we alert users? So maybe you can use a script, right? If you're good at scripting or you have our Copilot feature, you can use AI to create a script to send notifications to remind your users to reboot their computers. So as we don't have a built-in way of reminding them unless you're using that in the configuration policy with a pop-up, asking them to reboot. But if you wanted to just send them reminders on a weekly period or on a specific day, you can use the scripts to do so.
There's also something really quick, just can I add to that for a second, Lior? Is what you can also do is you can set a threshold. If you come over into the thresholds, hit new item, come over here to custom, come over to here, and you'll find device uptime. Set your device uptime to, let's say that's too far, like 8 days. Okay, and then you add that script that Lior was talking about. It says, okay, the first thing that's going to happen is the threshold is going to be 8 days. Then the auto healing script is going to say, send pop-up notice to worker, blah, 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 to please restart and reboot your thing after that. So you can have an alert for that. The other way that you could do it is you come over here to devices. And if you get on devices and you come over here, a lot of people don't see it, that you've got your table settings, that you can edit your columns. And down here at the bottom, it says last reboot. You can also do a filter, and you can see all your last reboots right here. Let's click it on again. And you can see all your last reboots, and you can click on this and send a script that way as well.
That's a really good idea, using the thresholds and the auto healing scripts. I love that one. And if you guys have any very specific questions that I didn't really get to, it could be because it's not relevant for all today. So again, please reach out to our support team. Right when we get off this webinar, start a live chat. You'll see that they respond in less than 30 seconds, I believe. So feel free to do that. And Kirk asked a last minute question, which is important, confirming we need a reboot configuration profile and reboot if needed in the profile. So again, you need the I'm not sure if I think I understood what you're asking, but yes, in the automation profile, you have to select reboot if needed, and you also need to create a configuration policy. If you don't create the configuration policy and it's just selected as reboot if needed, it's just going to reboot whenever it sees that one is needed in the middle of the day. Okay, so the policy is just to help to control that better. But yeah, it'll only work if you have reboot if needed selected. I'll drop in the chat the configuration policy article because I think it's really relevant to everyone, and that was most of your questions around. Okay, so thanks again for everyone that joined, that took out of their time to join the webinar. We really appreciate it. We hope you learned something today, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you at one of our next webinars in the future.
Thank you all for coming.
Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your day or night, wherever you are joining from.
Bye-bye.
Bye.